everyone. I have my Bouncy brush lettering workbook here for large brush tip pens, and I'm going to use my Dream pen or my, I could use my, no, that's a fine brush pen, a medium brush pen, or a large brush tip pen for this workbook. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a way to practice your drills that will really make a difference in your bouncy brush lettering skills. Okay, so if we look at the workbook, we start out at the beginning with your basic strokes and drills. There are just your simple up and down strokes, so you get used to using the brush pen. Now, let's take a look at the remaining 8 basic strokes. And we start with the underturn. So with this underturn, it looks like a V, you can see that, and they're all the same size. What I want you to do when you practice is this. You're going to put down your one piece of tracing paper. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. And the underturn starts out with full pressure and ends up with a transition and a light upstroke. So I would like you, I'm going to use the medium brush pen, to do the first one like this, release pressure and climb up. And then I'd like you to do the next one a little bit longer. So push down, release pressure and come up. And the next one even a bit longer and come up. And then switch. So one short, release, one kind of medium length, and one extra long. Now, why are we doing this? Because the whole point of bouncy lettering is changing some of these basic strokes so that they are different lengths or heights. Okay, so let's take a look at how you will practice your overturn, and then I'll show you what I mean in terms of letters. Okay, so the next basic stroke you're going to practice is the overturn. You begin with lightest pressure. You transition at the top and push down to the baseline. So how are you going to change this basic stroke when you're practicing? You're going to climb up, do the first one, push down. The next one, I want you to go taller, a little taller. And the third one, go even higher, like this. Okay, and then you can come back down, do your regular size stroke, and then taller, and then even taller. And you can alternate in a different way. You could do actually, one short, and then one super tall, and you don't have to follow these heights. But what I want you to do is practice varying the height of these strokes so that to practice varying the height of these strokes so that you will achieve the bouncy effect when you're writing your letters. Okay, we're going to look at 2 more basic strokes that we're going to change up, and those are the compound curves. So there's a compound curve and the reverse compound curve. How are we going to change this? Okay, let's take a look. So you have the overturn right here, and then an underturn connecting without stopping. Up, down, release, and up again. So instead of making them all the same size, you can change them how? In 2 ways. You can raise this first stroke at the top, or you can lower them, or you could do both. So let's try that. Let's go up higher and down and release and exit. Let's do the opposite. Let us go up to this height and then go down lower, below the baseline, release and exit like that. And now we're going to try doing both, going up here and down here. So I'm going to go up higher, down lower, and exit. Now this is, again, really important to vary the heights because this is what you'll be doing when you're writing letters and words. Which one, so I just want to mention this one, where I lowered the second stroke and kept this height the same. This is probably the stroke that I change the most, like this. I usually don't do this one or this one. Usually it's this. and I'll show you in a second. Okay, and the last basic stroke is the reverse compound curve. Let's change these tracing papers on top. Let's take a look. We have pushing down, releasing the underturn, coming up, and your overturn and exiting. There is your standard stroke. How are we going to change this? We can move this down, we can move this arch up, and we can do both. So let's try that. Down, 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 and up, and stop there. Now we'll do this upward stroke, this arch, will raise that higher. So let's go down to the baseline, stay there, come up higher, and down here. And now we're going to do both. So we're going to lower this underturn and raise the overturn. Down, lower, coming up higher, and pushing down and stopping on the baseline. All right, so which of these do I do most often? You know what, I actually do a variety of this stroke, so probably this first one is the one I would use a lot, but it depends on the word that I'm writing. Okay, so with that said, let's talk about these words. I'm going to, switch to the M and the N. So this is where you'll see these strokes in action. In the workbook, we have all the lowercase letters. I'm just going to find one piece of tracing paper on top. And let's look at the N. We start with our overturn like this. And now you can see we end here. Now we're going to do our work on our compound curve, the second part of the N, and I'm going to raise it a little bit, but drop it below the baseline a little bit more. So let's go up, push down, release, and come up again. Now, let's change that up. I will keep my first stroke the same, and now I'll change the second stroke. So maybe I'll go higher. I mean, you could be more dramatic, like this. Or you could raise the first stroke, but I usually don't. You could make this much lower, like that. All right? So you can play around with your ends and they don't necessarily have to all look the same like they do in the workbook. You have to learn to change with bouncy lettering, learn to change these strokes and vary the heights. Okay, let's take a look at the M. M is a really good example. So we can have the first stroke. I keep it between the waistline and baseline. And now let's look at the overturn here in the center. And then there's that compound curve, raising way up and way down and release and exit. So this one, I raised both the overturn part and the underturn exit. We put them together and we have 1, 2, and up, down, release, and exit. Now, how can we change this up? We can actually change the heights of these two strokes. In general, I keep the first stroke the same, and then I can raise this first stroke and make the second stroke lower, like that. So these are both commonly used M's in brush pen calligraphy. So this is something you can play around with and decide how you want your bouncy style to look. And that's why the bouncy style is more difficult to learn, because you are constantly varying the heights of your strokes, of some of the strokes. And it's changing with every word. So let's look at a word. I will write out the word minute, and you can see how it would bounce. So I'm going to write the M, and I'll do this stroke higher, my compound curve lower, release, and exit. My I is an underturn. There's that compound curve, and I'm going to make the N higher and that lower. And now my U is an underturn. I'm going to keep that on the baseline. My second underturn, I'll go below. My T, Now remember, we want to go up and down and up and down and up and down. So my T is going to be a little bit higher. And then my E, I can drop it lower or not. Usually I don't drop my vowels. All right, so this is why when you're practicing your basic strokes, you're going to do some at the height, regular height, some will be lower, and others will be even lower. And you can go as low as you like. And then when you do this, you'll create more variety with your bouncy letters and words. Thanks for watching.